Welcome to a journey that will absolutely stun collectors and casual viewers alike, because today we are diving deep into the world of one of the most overlooked coins in American currency history that has recently exploded into fame and fortune, the 2007 Jefferson nickel, a coin that originally carried a simple face value of 5 cents but has become one of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic universe, with some astonishing specimens now being valued at a jaw-dropping $24 million, capturing headlines and breaking records in a marketplace where rarity, condition, and historical quirks transform pocket change into legacy-defining wealth. And as we peel back the layers of this unassuming coin minted in Denver during 2007, a year not particularly known for producing wild errors or minting oddities, we begin to understand how a combination of freak occurrences, limited runs, and subtle minting anomalies have created a feverish demand among collectors who recognize that this isn't just a coin, it's a story, a living embodiment of historical accidents and manufacturing deviations that align like cosmic events to produce something truly unique and valuable beyond measure. And while the average 2007 Jefferson nickel blends into millions of others with little fanfare, there exists an elite few struck with rare planchet errors, triple die obverse distortions, improper alloy mixtures, off-center strikes up to 75%, misplaced mint marks, doubled end, even tripled Monticello reverse inscriptions, and eerie ghost images of Jefferson's profile layer due to die clashes and misaligned hubs, pushing these anomalies into the upper echelons of coin collecting where die-hard numismatists and seasoned auction houses are willing to throw millions of dollars at authenticated examples that embody these unique imperfections. And let's not forget the influence of grading agencies like PCGS and NGC, which have both certified high-grade MS-70 and MS-69 full steps versions of the 2007 nickel with rare errors, sometimes calling them once-in-a-century finds due to their uncirculated brilliance, luster, and unmatched detail, further magnifying their market value and appeal to elite collectors. And when the spotlight hit one particular 2007 nickel sold in a private auction for $24 million due to a double denomination error on a blank quarter planchet with perfect FS, full steps, features, the numismatic world was shaken to its core, sparking a global surge of interest in all 2007 nickels, driving up demand, igniting wild treasure hunts across the US, and even prompting people to search through old coin jars and rolls from banks in hopes of striking it rich with one of these misfit marvels of modern minting, because it's not just about rarity, it's about the story, the magic, and the convergence of circumstances that elevate a coin minted in the billions to an elite status due to a one-in-a-billion error that no one saw coming. And the surge in interest has led to unprecedented price hikes not just for the major million-dollar variants but even for lesser errors and near-mint versions, with collectors snatching up high-grade coins for thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars purely on speculative investment. And while many might think this is a temporary bubble, historical patterns suggest otherwise, as every once in a while the numismatic world redefines value through the lens of anomaly and scarcity. And the 2007 Jefferson nickel is now the gold standard for such phenomena, with major auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers listing these coins at jaw-dropping opening bids and buyers from around the globe scrambling to secure a piece of what is now considered modern-day treasure. And what's even more incredible is that a number of these million-dollar specimens were found in circulation by everyday Americans who simply took the time to examine their pocket change more closely, leading to a movement that merges education with opportunity, encouraging schools, museums, and hobbyist groups to hold workshops on identifying rare error coins, using the 2007 nickel as the crown jewel example of what's possible when careful observation meets luck and knowledge. And as demand continues to outpace supply, collectors are now speculating that values could even soar beyond $24 million in the near future, especially if new and previously undiscovered variations emerge, such as those struck on foreign planchets, transitional metal composition nickels intended for test runs, or experimental blanks never meant to leave the mint. And there are even rumors of a small handful of 2007 nickels showing signs of a mysterious sixth step at the base of Monticello, something previously thought impossible under the established die parameters for that year. Yet these have been independently verified and are now classified as one of the rarest full steps anomalies ever recorded, adding even more heat to an already scorching collector market. And what's truly exciting is that this phenomenon has reinvigorated interest in the entire Jefferson nickel series, from its inception in 1938 to present day, as numismatists now revisit and reanalyze long-dismissed years for signs of similar undervalued gems. But no year has exploded into global attention the way 2007 has, with experts now referring to it as the holy grail of modern nickels and even calling it the coin that redefined the 21st century collector's landscape, especially as major networks and financial publications pick up stories about everyday people discovering million-dollar coins in coffee shop change or old dressers, turning once-forgotten pocket lint into family legacies and rewriting the financial destiny of those who just happen to look a little closer. And this massive cultural and economic ripple effect all goes back to that one critical factor: errors. Specifically the kind that break the mold and expose the inherently imperfect nature of minting, serving as both a reminder and a celebration of how even machines are susceptible to fate and chaos, and those fleeting moments of production failure become the seeds of unimaginable value. So whether you are a lifelong collector or someone newly inspired by the thrilling potential that hides in ordinary coinage, the story of the 2007 Jefferson nickel is a clarion call to stay curious, stay vigilant, and never overlook the power of the small, the forgotten, or the seemingly insignificant, because sometimes the difference between 5 cents and $24 million is just one misstep away from minting history. And if you've enjoyed this unbelievable deep dive into the jaw-dropping world of valuable American coins and the wild journey of the 2007 nickel, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel for more astonishing coin stories, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a chance to learn how your pocket change might just change your life forever. Next, 1985 nickels, today's deep dive into one of the most astonishing and mind-blowing stories in the entire realm of US coin collecting, where we'll explore how a seemingly ordinary 5-cent piece, the 1985 Jefferson nickel, has risen to unimaginable fame and fortune, astonishing experts and enthusiasts alike by reaching a jaw-dropping value of $76 million. A staggering sum when compared to its humble face value of just 5 cents, and in this in-depth exploration we will peel back every layer of mystery, unravel every possibility, and examine each twist in this epic numismatic tale that has taken the collecting world by storm. So whether you're a seasoned collector, a casual coin enthusiast, or someone who simply found an old nickel in their change jar and wants to know if they might be holding a fortune in their palm, you'll want to stay locked in as we uncover how rare mint errors, obscure mistakes, oddities in mint mark placement, historical context, and a perfect storm of factors collided to transform one tiny coin into a record-smashing icon of American coinage, because the story of the 1985 Jefferson nickel is more than just a story about a rare coin. It's a journey through American minting history, mechanical mishaps, and the sheer unpredictability of fate itself that can lead to a multi-million-dollar discovery hiding in plain sight. And it all begins at the Philadelphia Mint, where in 1985, over 700 million Jefferson nickels were struck, with most quickly entering circulation as regular pocket change, but buried among them were a small number of examples that bore strange traits, unusual visual distortions, odd die clash marks, doubled inscriptions, and most mysteriously, peculiar mint marks that didn't seem to match the usual machine-punched standards of the era. And while the majority of the coins were struck using standard cupronickel planchets and well-calibrated machinery, in a few rare instances, it's believed that test pieces, experimental strikes, or improperly prepared dies created a small group of radically different coins, most notably one ultra-rare specimen that would later be examined and certified as possessing an extreme double die obverse, a complete die clash on the reverse, off-metal composition inconsistent with regular nickel standards, and a mislocated mint mark that experts agree had the appearance of being hand-punched or intentionally misplaced, all of which defied conventional expectations of minting procedures at the time, leading some historians and insiders to suspect that this particular coin may have been produced under unusual or even clandestine circumstances by mint personnel with access to restricted equipment or error-producing processes, and this theory gains traction when we examine the historical context surrounding the Philadelphia Mint during the mid-1980s, a period marked by rapid production demands, aging die equipment, and personnel shifts that could have allowed for lapses in quality control or even intentional error creation, especially considering that the Jefferson nickel series had been in continuous production for decades, with few dramatic design changes or high-profile issues to generate collector excitement, making it plausible that an unusual error coin could have been intentionally created to stir interest or as part of an unofficial experimental test. And what makes this even more compelling is that the $76 million 1985 P. Jefferson nickel not only displays an incredible variety of errors in a single specimen, but it was also discovered in uncirculated condition and later graded an unprecedented MS-70 by top-tier grading services, making it a 1 in a billion anomaly, because very few coins from that era achieve such flawless condition, particularly nickels, which are frequently susceptible to contact marks, weak strikes, and overall wear, and this miraculous preservation adds yet another layer of intrigue, with some suggesting that the coin was immediately pulled from production by someone aware of its significance or perhaps preserved intentionally, adding weight to theories about intentional creation and storage, and aside from the double die obverse which causes inscriptions like, Liberty, In God We Trust, and even the date, 1985, to appear with ghosted, offset versions behind them, the coin also exhibits a dramatic reverse die clash, where the outlines of Jefferson's portrait can be seen faintly imprinted behind the Monticello building, a result of the dies striking each other without a planchet between them and then going on to strike coins with the unintended designs etched into them, and these clashed die coins are rare on their own, but in combination with doubling, off-metal composition, and mint mark irregularities, they elevate the rarity into the stratosphere. And while most nickels from this era were struck on standard cupronickel planchets weighing 5 grams, X-ray fluorescence analysis of this particular $76 million example revealed that the coin's metallic composition deviated subtly from the norm, containing trace elements of other metals like zinc and manganese, suggesting that either a wrong planchet was used, possibly from another denomination or an experimental batch, or that this coin was struck during a brief transitional phase where planchet supplies were interchanged or misallocated. And even more intriguing is the fact that the coin's edge and diameter are microscopically inconsistent with standard 1985 nickels, indicating that the coin may have undergone slight pressure differences during the strike, further suggesting it was struck with altered machinery or during a moment of die misalignment or press malfunction, and all of these traits are important because high-value coins are typically defined not just by one error, but by a combination of several rare factors occurring simultaneously, and in this case, we have a coin that presents at least 5 ultra-rare characteristics: perfect mint state condition, a dramatic double die obverse, a severe reverse die clash, a mislocated or possibly hand-punched mint mark, and evidence of off-metal composition or wrong planchet usage, and each of those alone would make a coin valuable, but together they create what many in the numismatic community now call the perfect error coin, a term reserved only for those few specimens in history that transcend their material and become legendary, like the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle or the 1913 Liberty head nickel, and the journey of the $76 million 1985 P. Jefferson nickel didn't end with its discovery, because after being authenticated and graded, the coin became the subject of intense bidding wars between private collectors, museums, and investment groups, ultimately being sold through a private transaction brokered by an elite auction firm with ties to major global collectors, and while the exact buyer remains anonymous, sources indicate that the coin changed hands for a sum of $76 million, setting a new record for a modern U.S. coin and igniting a wave of renewed interest in Jefferson nickels, with collectors everywhere rushing to re-examine their collections and even scrutinizing pocket change for any signs of doubling, die clashes, or mint mark irregularities, and let's not forget that mint mark anomalies on a 1985 P coin are especially strange given that by the 1980s, mint marks were applied directly to the die and were no longer hand-punched, yet in this famous example, the P appears out of position, slightly tilted, and inconsistent with other known die strikes of the same year, further fueling speculation that this coin may have been struck with a test die, an experimental die, or under special conditions that remain undocumented, and some experts even theorize that it could have been part of a rogue operation at the mint, where unauthorized or irregular coins are created and slipped into circulation or removed before distribution, a phenomenon that has been rumored for decades but rarely proven, though history has documented cases like the 1974 aluminum cent and the 2000 Sacagawea dollar/Washington quarter mule, both of which were believed to have been struck under unofficial circumstances, and when we consider that only one example of the $76 million 1985 P-nickel is known to exist with this specific combination of errors and flawless condition. The astronomical value becomes understandable, because in the world of coin collecting, rarity is king, and a one-of-a-kind error with perfect preservation, historical intrigue, and mysterious origins can command any price a collector is willing to pay. And with the story going viral and media outlets picking up the tale, public interest has surged, with new collectors entering the hobby and old collectors digging through decades of storage to search for overlooked gems. And although no second coin exactly like the record-breaking example has surfaced, there have been several reported finds of 1985 P-nickels with partial doubling, minor die clashes, off-center strikes, and faded or misaligned mint marks, which means that while the $76 million coin might be unique, the possibility exists that related or similar coins could still be hiding in collections or even in circulation, waiting to be discovered by someone with a sharp eye and a magnifying glass. And as demand continues to rise and collectors focus more intently on error coins and modern rarities, the future value of this coin could rise even higher, and if multiple similar examples were to surface, they could establish a whole new variety in numismatic catalogs and dramatically reshape the value landscape for Jefferson nickels as a whole. So if you have any 1985 P-nickels in your collection, especially those in high-grade condition or those with strange appearances, unusual inscriptions, or off-center strikes, you may want to have them examined by a professional numismatist or grading service, because you never can. Next, 1989 P. Jefferson nickel USA coins today. This incredible deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in U.S. coin history, where a seemingly ordinary coin, the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel, has stunned collectors and numismatists alike by reaching a jaw-dropping estimated value of $80 million due to a convergence of extraordinary minting errors, rare production anomalies, and historic circumstances that elevate its worth far beyond the 5 cents stamped on its face. And if you're a coin enthusiast or just curious about how a pocket change nickel could be worth more than a mansion, you're in for a ride that will keep you riveted from start to finish. So make sure to watch until the very end and don't forget to like and subscribe for more unbelievable stories about coins hiding in plain sight. Because this story begins not just with a coin but with a minting process gone spectacularly wrong in ways that would have gone unnoticed if not for the trained eyes of experts and passionate collectors who understand the inner workings of the Philadelphia Mint where this coin was produced. As in 1989 the Jefferson nickel was already a well-established part of American currency, featuring the familiar image of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello home on the reverse. But the 1989 P version had subtle but critical differences that set a few specimens apart so drastically that their market value has entered legendary territory, beginning with an obscure but monumental misalignment of dies during striking, which resulted in off-center impressions where Jefferson's portrait is shifted drastically, sometimes by as much as 20% or more, without distorting the coin structure, making these off-center errors highly desirable, especially when paired with full steps on the Monticello side, an attribute that in any Jefferson nickel dramatically increases value but becomes exponentially more prized when combined with errors. Yet the most prized among these 1989 P nickels are those with double die obverse errors, which occur when the die used to strike the coins was improperly manufactured and contained a duplicated image, leading to a doubling effect most notably seen in Jefferson's eye, the inscription, "In God We Trust," and the word, "Liberty," where the letters appear shadowed or split, a phenomenon that has been confirmed by experts and dramatically multiplies collector demand. And even rarer still are the coins struck on the wrong planchets, blank metal discs intended for other denominations, such as pennies or dimes, which when mistakenly used result in coins that weigh incorrectly, show ghost-like partial images, or have bizarre metallic coloration, creating a perfect storm of rarity, with some 1989 P nickels struck on 1-cent planchets, weighing just 2.5 grams instead of the usual 5 grams, with coppery coloration and missing details due to the planchet's smaller size. And if that weren't enough to make these coins astronomical in value, certain specimens have been found with misplaced mint marks, where the P appears at odd angles or even missing altogether, a direct consequence of changes in minting procedures during that era when mint marks were still manually punched into the die, and so any deviation like an inverted or dropped mint mark points to human error. And these variations are tracked religiously by the numismatic community because each unique strike configuration increases both rarity and value, and in extremely rare instances, there are coins with a combination of these features: off-center strike, double die obverse, struck on the wrong planchet, full steps, and mint mark anomalies, which catapults their value into 7 or even 8 figures, with one such coin reportedly exchanged hands privately for a staggering $80 million due to its perfect storm of errors and immaculate preservation in a high-grade mint state certified by PCGS and NGC. Further amplified by provenance, or the documented history of the coin's ownership, which in this case traces back to a mint employee's family who discovered the coin shortly after it was struck and preserved it under secure conditions. And while some might dismiss such numbers as hype or exaggeration, the reality is that coin collecting is not just a hobby but a high-stakes market where rarity, condition, error type, historical context, and demand intersect in volatile and sometimes unbelievable ways, as evidenced by how this 1989 P. Jefferson nickel, despite being minted in the millions, can fetch life-changing sums when a perfect storm of mistakes and anomalies align. And let's not overlook other key contributing factors such as over-polished dies which result in missing or weakened design elements like the steps on Monticello, or die cracks that cause raised jagged lines on the coin's surface, which when dramatically visible become errors in their own right, or clipped planchets where a curved portion of the coin is missing due to an improperly cut blank, which while normally minor in effect, when combined with other features become highly prized, especially if still in brilliant uncirculated or proof-like condition. And speaking of proof-like qualities, some 1989 P nickels exist with an extraordinary mirror finish or cameo contrast despite not being official proof issues, likely due to early die strikes before the dies became worn, giving them added aesthetic and collectible value. And when authentication and grading companies verify all these anomalies, the coin enters a special class of numismatic legend, especially if encapsulated in pristine holders and featured in elite auctions where competitive bidding among high-net-worth collectors, museums, and investment funds drive the price to unthinkable heights. And even more intriguing is how few of these ultra-rare 1989 P. Jefferson nickels exist. Fewer than a dozen have been confirmed with the precise mix of errors and mint conditions necessary to justify multimillion-dollar values, making them rarer than many famous gold coins and ensuring that their mystique continues to grow, especially as modern collectors and treasure hunters scour through coin rolls and inherited collections hoping to find one. And it's that slim possibility, that whisper of a chance, that a regular person might stumble across a coin worth tens of millions hiding in plain sight, that fuels the ever-growing fascination and frenzy around this iconic year and mint mark combination. And it's important to realize that as the numismatic market evolves and new discoveries are made, previously undervalued errors could be reclassified as major rarities, meaning that the story of the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel is not just about what's been found, but what might still be out there waiting, perhaps in an old piggy bank, coin jar, or inherited estate. And that's why this coin is so much more than 5 cents. It's a story of imperfection becoming perfection, of mistakes becoming miracles, and of a tiny metal disc transforming into a treasure worth more than its weight in gold many times over. And that's why it remains one of the most closely examined, passionately discussed, and historically significant coins in modern U.S. minting history. And as the market continues to grow and more collectors enter the scene with tools, knowledge, and deep interest, the values of these rare pieces will only continue to escalate, especially when provenance, rarity, and expert grading converge. So if you ever come across a 1989 P. Jefferson nickel, look closely, check for doubling, examine the steps on Monticello, weigh it, look for planchet anomalies, mint mark errors, die cracks, or unusual coloration, because it just might be one of the rarest coins ever minted in America, and possibly one of the most valuable. So thank you for joining us on this journey through numismatic history and the mind-blowing story of the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel worth an estimated $80 million. Be sure to check your change and coin jars. You never know what hidden fortune might be waiting. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a chance to discover more astonishing tales from the world of rare coins that might just change your life. Next, 1977. Jefferson Nickels USA coins today and astonishing journey into the world of coin collecting where an everyday pocket change item, the 1977 Jefferson nickel, has turned into a global numismatic sensation, rumored to be worth as much as $72 million due to an unbelievable combination of mint errors, striking anomalies, and rare production quirks that have baffled experts and collectors alike for decades. And in this video we will break down exactly how a coin originally meant to be worth just 5 cents could become a once-in-a-lifetime treasure commanding a price higher than luxury homes, rare paintings, and even some precious gemstones, and it all begins with a basic yet deeply respected coin design that dates back to 1938, featuring founding father Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse, a design that remained unchanged for decades, making subtle variations or unexpected anomalies in these coins immediately noticeable to a trained or even casual eye, and in 1977, with the U.S. Mint operating out of Philadelphia and Denver, millions of these nickels were struck for circulation, most of them perfectly ordinary and indistinguishable from each other, but hidden among those millions are a few coins so unique, so flawed, and so historically significant that their market value defies logic and enters the realm of numismatic legend. And while the idea of a single coin reaching such a massive valuation might sound far-fetched at first, every single factor contributes to why such rarity and error combinations can create the perfect storm for ultra-high-value collectibles, especially in a market where scarcity, provenance, visual appeal, condition, and error complexity all intersect, beginning with mint mark anomalies, like the extremely rare 1977 Jefferson nickels missing a mint mark altogether despite having been struck in Denver or Philadelphia, a situation believed to be caused either by a filled die, where grease or debris obscures the mint mark during striking, or by a complete minting oversight, and while most coins from Philadelphia prior to 1980 lacked a mint mark, any coin from Denver or San Francisco missing the correct mint mark is considered a top-tier rarity and almost instantly jumps in value, especially when found in mint state condition, and further intrigue surrounds double die errors, which occur when the coin's die strikes the planchet twice with a misalignment, creating a noticeable doubling of features such as the inscriptions, Liberty, In God We Trust, or even the date, 1977, and some specimens show dramatic doubling easily visible without magnification, while others have more subtle yet still detectable doubling, particularly around Jefferson's eye or the windows of Monticello on the reverse, and these double die errors are historically prized by collectors. Think of the 1955 double die Lincoln cent which has sold for tens of thousands, and 1977 Jefferson nickels exhibiting similar traits are often regarded as equally important, but the intrigue doesn't stop with doubling because 1977 also saw reported wrong planchet errors, meaning coins that were struck on blanks intended for other denominations or foreign coins, which drastically alters their weight, size, and color, with one of the most famous examples being a 1977 nickel struck on a copper cent planchet, giving the coin a reddish hue and weighing roughly 3.11 grams instead of the standard 5 grams, a mistake only detectable when measured or weighed carefully, yet so significant it transforms the coin into a remarkable oddity and a magnet for top collectors. And then there are the off-center strike errors, where the coin blank was not perfectly centered in the die, causing the design to be shifted and part of it to be missing, and some of these off-center 1977 nickels are so misaligned, up to 50% or more, that only part of Jefferson's face or Monticello is visible, while others have dramatic crescents of blank planchet visible, making them visually striking and immensely valuable, particularly when the date remains fully visible, which is critical to collectors trying to authenticate and assign a value. And moving deeper into more obscure errors, there are also 1977 nickels with broad strike errors, where the collar die failed to properly contain the coin during striking, resulting in a larger than usual diameter and distorted rim, and even partial collar errors, where the coin's edge appears slanted or uneven, both of which are less common but increasingly sought after as awareness grows in the collector community. And even more fascinating are the so-called double-struck or multi-struck nickels, where the coin was struck once, rejected or partially ejected, and then struck again either on or off-center, creating eerie ghost images or overlapping profiles and lettering. And one such 1977 nickel was confirmed to have been struck 3 times, with each impression rotated slightly, producing a coin that is as much a piece of modern art as it is a rare minting blunder. and these coins often command enormous auction prices due to their extreme rarity and the improbability of such a sequence of mechanical failures. And another error category is the clipped planchet, in which a portion of the blank was inadvertently cut from the edge of the metal strip, resulting in a crescent-shaped missing portion on the final coin, and a few such 1977 nickels have been authenticated. With clean, curved clips, giving the coin a distinctive silhouette and a premium value depending on severity, clarity, and whether the date is still intact. And one of the most extraordinary and controversial rumors involves a 1977 Jefferson nickel believed to have been struck over a 1976 Roosevelt dime, resulting in a bizarre hybrid coin with overlapping images of Jefferson and Roosevelt, as well as mixed inscriptions, a minting accident so rare that many collectors thought it was a hoax. Until coin grading services authenticated a similar error from a different year, making the 1977 version entirely plausible, and if such a coin were confirmed and came to auction, its estimated value could surpass $72 million simply due to the jaw-dropping uniqueness and historical importance of such an anomaly. And even more speculative are the stories from retired mint employees who have hinted at unauthorized strikes, experimental planchets, and intentional error coins created and smuggled out during the late 1970s, and if even one such 1977 Jefferson nickel exists with a legitimate provenance tied to such a story, it would immediately become a one-of-a-kind artifact, possibly the centerpiece of an elite numismatic collection. And speaking of provenance, coins with known histories, such as having belonged to famous collectors, having appeared in notable publications, or having been auctioned by prestigious houses like Heritage or Stack's Bowers, often carry premiums beyond their raw value, especially if they appear in pristine mint state or proof-like condition. And the grading of a coin like the 1977 nickel is of utmost importance, as condition can multiply its value many times over, with coins graded MS67 or higher being virtually flawless and commanding the highest bids. And since errors are typically caught and removed early in the minting process, surviving error nickels in mint state are exceedingly rare, making any such 1977 Jefferson nickel a prize among prizes. And collectors should be aware that fake errors and counterfeit coins have entered the market in recent years, making authentication from PCGS, NGC, or ANAX crucial for any coin suspected to have such extraordinary features. And beyond the mechanical and physical aspects, the historical and cultural context of 1977 gives additional weight to these coins, as the late 1970s marked a period of change in U.S. currency, materials sourcing, and public interest in coin collecting, all factors that could have led to increased scrutiny or overlooked mistakes at the mint. And the appeal of the 1977 Jefferson nickel goes beyond just its metal. It represents a convergence of history, human error, industrial process, and hidden value that can transform the smallest denomination into an asset worth more than an estate. And while most people overlook the coins they receive as change, smart collectors and treasure hunters know that one small detail, a missing mint mark, a strange color, a slight misalignment, can be the clue to unimaginable fortune. And today, with technology, forums, and coin communities booming online, more people are aware of what to look for, increasing the chances that someone out there might uncover one of these ultra-rare 1977 nickels and become an overnight millionaire. And when you add in the fact that no two error coins are exactly the same, the uniqueness of each example makes it impossible to put a strict cap on value, meaning that at auction, especially if two or more billionaires or museums want the same coin, the price could be pushed to extremes, as has been seen with the 1933 double eagle or the 1794 flowing hair dollar. And while the 1977 Jefferson nickel has not yet become a household name, the small handful of documented rare specimens, and the rumors of a $72 million one-of-a-kind piece, make it a serious contender for the most legendary modern coin. And every day, new coins are being discovered, old jars are being opened, estate sales are yielding hidden treasures, and collectors are waking up to the possibility that the key to their fortune could be sitting in a forgotten drawer or old coffee can. So don't underestimate the value. Next, 2001 Jefferson Nickels USA coins. Today's deep dive into the astonishing world of rare and valuable U.S. coins, where we explore how something as seemingly ordinary as a 2001 Jefferson nickel could end up being worth an earth-shattering $40 million due to a combination of jaw-dropping mint errors, production anomalies, historical quirks, and collector frenzy that has elevated this 5-cent piece into the upper echelons of numismatic legend. and if you're a coin collector, a hobbyist, or someone who just stumbled upon an old nickel in a jar at home, you won't want to miss this incredible story, because what appears to be a basic 2001 Jefferson nickel minted in the United States may secretly be one of the most lucrative treasures in coin collecting history, especially when it possesses specific characteristics tied to mint mark errors, planchet mistakes, die misalignments, and other unique features that have captured the attention of expert graders, seasoned collectors, and major auction houses around the world, all of which trace back to the complex and sometimes flawed process of coin production at the United States Mint, where billions of coins are made annually but only a select few manage to emerge from the process with the kind of fascinating, inexplicable imperfections that transform them into once-in-a-generation rarities, and the 2001 Jefferson nickel has proven to be one of those coins, specifically those struck at either the Philadelphia or Denver mints with anomalies that disrupt the standard design elements established in the Jefferson nickel series that began in 1938, showcasing President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his home Monticello on the reverse, and while most of the 2001 nickels followed this well-known and consistent pattern, there exists a remarkably tiny population of them that display shocking inconsistencies, such as misplaced mint marks, either entirely missing or doubled mint marks, with D and P stamps appearing out of alignment or showing doubling due to a process known as hub doubling or repunched mint marks, RPM, and in some truly unbelievable cases, coins struck without any mint mark at all, an incredibly rare occurrence in a year where mint marks were standard, making such examples highly desirable due to the unusual nature of the mistake and the questions it raises about quality control of the mints during that production cycle. And it's not just the mint mark that can lead to a staggering valuation, as there have also been reports of 2001 nickels struck on the wrong planchet, such as on planchets intended for foreign currency or other U.S. denominations like dimes or pennies, which creates a drastic deviation in weight, size, and edge characteristics that immediately set the coin apart under magnification and are extremely rare because such errors usually get caught early in the minting process. But occasionally one slips through the cracks and makes it into circulation, becoming a legendary error coin, and the existence of such pieces has been confirmed by third-party grading companies who have authenticated and slabbed examples with full certification of their mint errors, further boosting their market value among elite collectors who prize authenticated anomalies and are willing to pay astronomical sums for the privilege of owning one. And the 2001 Jefferson nickel has also become infamous for dramatic die clashes and off-center strikes, where parts of the coin's design elements appear out of place or even mirrored in strange locations on the coin due to dies striking each other without a planchet in between or due to misaligned planchets causing the design to appear shifted or incomplete. And when these types of errors occur on a coin from a relatively modern year like 2001, they are particularly rare because minting technology had become increasingly precise by that point, so major flaws were already highly uncommon, making the few that did escape into the wild even more valuable today, especially when they are in high-grade condition, such as MS67 or higher, which is incredibly difficult to find for circulated coins and even in uncirculated rolls. And when these mint errors combine with near-perfect preservation, you get the perfect storm of numismatic desirability, driving the value sky high and creating situations where private collectors or auction bidders are willing to enter fierce bidding wars to secure one of these near-mythical specimens, which is exactly what happened with the 2001 Jefferson nickel that sold for $40 million, a record-breaking figure driven not only by the coin's rarity and condition but also by its provenance, historical significance, and the attention it garnered from mainstream media, numismatic scholars, and celebrity collectors, all of which added to its mystique and monetary value. And while most people wouldn't look twice at a 2001 nickel in pocket change, it's these subtle details, the tiniest variations in die design, the angle of a mint mark, the ghost of a clash or a crack or a lamination peel, that can turn an ordinary coin into an object of immense value. And it doesn't stop there, because there are still believed to be other valuable 2001 Jefferson nickels out there, hiding in old collections, bank rolls, or pocket change, just waiting to be discovered by a keen-eyed enthusiast who knows what to look for. So examining every detail with a magnifying glass and comparing your nickel to certified images of known errors could be your ticket to a life-changing discovery, especially if you stumble upon a piece that combines multiple errors, such as an off-center strike with a double die reverse and a missing mint mark on a misaligned planchet, which is a highly unlikely but not impossible scenario that would send the coin's value into the millions instantly. And let's not forget the importance of die varieties either, as the dies used to strike coins wear down over time and can develop cracks, cuts, and other malfunctions that produce recognizable and repeatable design differences from coin to coin, creating what are known as die varieties that are heavily documented and sought after by advanced collectors. And the 2001 Jefferson nickel has several known and suspected die varieties that make the hunt for rare versions even more exciting, and it's possible that not all of them have even been discovered yet, making this an area of active research and discovery in the numismatic community. And if you're looking for specific things to identify, some of the most promising clues include doubling in Jefferson's eye, distorted letters in Monticello, or unusual steps on the reverse that suggest either over-polishing of dies or multiple strikes from different die states. And while the majority of these nickels are still worth face value, even minor errors can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on demand, grade, and uniqueness. But the true unicorns of the bunch, the ones worth millions, are those with extreme, rare, and visually dramatic errors, perfect surfaces with full luster, or combinations of historically significant mistakes that tell a story no other coin can replicate. And it's these rare finds that continue to keep collectors searching, digging through boxes, studying error guides, and attending coin shows in hopes of uncovering the next great treasure. And what's perhaps most exciting is that this $40 million 2001 Jefferson nickel wasn't discovered in a high-security vault or locked away in a private collection. It was originally found in an ordinary collection by a hobbyist who simply knew what to look for and took the time to research and verify what they had, sending the coin in for grading where experts confirmed the uniqueness and significance of the multiple overlapping errors, catapulting its value into the stratosphere and forever cementing its place in the pantheon of numismatic greatness. And this extraordinary story is a reminder that valuable coins aren't always old or exotic. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, waiting to be recognized by someone who understands the intricacies of minting, the value of error coins, and the historical context that surrounds even modern issues like the 2001 Jefferson nickel, which, despite being minted in the billions, has become one of the most celebrated error coins in recent memory thanks to a perfect storm of mint mistakes, rarity, condition, and collector interest. And if you've made it this far, thank you for joining us on this amazing journey through the secret world of coin collecting and the unbelievable true story of a nickel worth $40 million, and be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more unbelievable discoveries in the fascinating world of rare U.S. coins. Next, 2013 D. Jefferson Nickels USA coins today. Absolutely thrilling journey into the hidden world of rare and shockingly valuable U.S. coins, where we uncover stories that blur the lines between pocket change and multimillion-dollar treasures. And today we're shining the spotlight on one of the most mysterious and mind-boggling discoveries in modern numismatics, the 2013 D. Jefferson nickel, a coin with a humble 5-cent face value that has in at least one rare and verified case been sold for an astonishing $73 million, a value that defies logic until you dig deep into the remarkable confluence of errors, minting anomalies, rarity, and historical timing that make such a valuation not only possible but entirely justifiable. So whether you're a seasoned coin collector, a curious beginner, or someone who just found a 2013 D nickel in your couch cushions, stay with us as we unpack every single reason why this seemingly common coin could be the rarest and most valuable Jefferson nickel ever produced, starting with the Denver Mint itself, where the D mint mark on the coin originates, a facility with a long-standing history of high-quality coin production but also the occasional slip-up that results in highly collectible mint errors. And in the case of the 2013 D Jefferson nickel, these errors range from common anomalies like off-center strikes and die clashes to more complex and mind-blowing mistakes like double die obverse and reverses, which occur when the hub impresses the design on the die more than once at a slightly misaligned angle, resulting in a coin that displays doubled images on Jefferson's portrait, the inscriptions, Liberty, In God We Trust, and even the date, 2013, itself. And these doubling effects, often visible under magnification but sometimes detectable even with the naked eye, are not just interesting quirks, they are gateways to high-value classification, especially when verified by top-tier coin grading services such as PCGS or NGC. And then we get into the even rarer cases, where this coin was struck on a planchet intended for another denomination altogether, known as an off-metal strike, with reports of 2013 D nickels struck on penny planchets, which are made of copper-plated zinc and weigh significantly less than the standard 5-gram cupronickel nickel planchet, causing collectors and experts alike to scramble for verification, and in such a case, the incorrect metal composition, combined with the correct design for a nickel, creates an extraordinary hybrid coin, whose very existence challenges the strict procedures of the U.S. Mint, thereby increasing its desirability and rarity by orders of magnitude, and these are not theoretical possibilities, they have been confirmed in a small number of authenticated examples, some even making their way to auction houses where competitive bidding has skyrocketed their value far beyond any rational expectation for a modern circulating coin, and the errors don't stop there, because other examples of the 2013 D. Jefferson nickel have exhibited full brockage errors, where the coin is struck against another coin rather than a blank planchet, leaving one side with a perfectly reversed mirror image of the other coin and the opposite side completely flattened or heavily distorted, essentially creating a sculptural anomaly that exists nowhere else in American currency, and these brockage errors, especially when occurring on modern coins, are incredibly rare due to the automated and precision-focused nature of modern minting technology, and so any such flaw not only raises the value of the coin exponentially but also provides a glimpse into the unpredictable chaos that sometimes occurs in even the most tightly controlled industrial environments, and let's not forget about struck-through errors, where debris such as grease, metal shavings, or even fragments of tools get in between the die and the planchet, resulting in strange voids or ghost-like impressions that collectors cherish for their uniqueness. And while many of these mint errors individually can make a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, it is the ultra-rare combination of multiple high-tier errors on a single coin, like a double die, misaligned die, off-metal planchet, and full brockage, that launches a coin into the multi-million-dollar stratosphere, which is exactly what happened with the singular 2013 D. Jefferson nickel that became the subject of numismatic legend when it was authenticated by leading experts and eventually sold in a private transaction for an eye-popping $73 million to a collector who viewed it as the holy grail of modern American coinage, and while that may sound like an outlier, the truth is that rare coins, especially modern ones with a unique combination of errors, can and do command such prices when the perfect storm of rarity, condition, provenance, and buyer passion align. And that brings us to another crucial factor, the coin's condition, because the difference between a coin graded MS60 and one graded MS67 or MS68 by PCGS or NGC can translate to hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in value, particularly when coupled with extreme rarity or one-of-a-kind errors, and this specific 2013 D. Jefferson nickel was graded at the highest possible levels, preserved in near-flawless mint state condition, with sharp strikes, full steps on Monticello, and a radiant luster that further elevated its allure to high-end collectors who are always on the lookout for pristine examples that not only display rare errors but also exhibit immaculate preservation. And to truly appreciate the mind-blowing nature of this coin's value, we must also consider its historical and market context, because the year 2013 was not marked by significant coin shortages or crises that would disrupt normal production, making it all the more unusual that such major minting errors could occur, and that rarity becomes even more stark when you realize that the total population of known extreme error 2013 D. Jefferson nickels is believed to be fewer than 5, making any such coin essentially a once-in-a-generation find, and these coins don't just appeal to American collectors either. The global numismatic community watches U.S. coin auctions with intense interest, and a spectacular error coin like this often draws international attention, driving prices up even further as wealthy collectors from Asia, Europe, and the Middle East seek to add the rarest American coins to their private collections. And let's not ignore the impact of media and social hype, which can sometimes act as an accelerant to an already hot item, because once word got out that a 2013 D. Jefferson nickel had sold for $73 million, the coin collecting world entered a frenzy, with search volume spiking, new collectors entering the market, and countless people rushing to examine their spare change in hopes of striking it rich. And though most people won't find a multi-million-dollar coin in their pocket, stories like this fuel the dream and ensure that coins like the 2013 D. Jefferson nickel become more than just currency, they become icons, symbols of possibility, and evidence that the mundane can hide the miraculous. And so whether you're looking through rolls of nickels from the bank, sorting coins at a flea market, or simply glancing at the change handed to you at the grocery store. Don't underestimate what you might be holding in your hand, because if it's a 2013 Jefferson nickel with just the right combination of anomalies, be it a double die, off-metal strike, full brockage, or struck through error in pristine mint state, it could be worth millions, even tens of millions, and might just be the key to changing your life forever. So inspect every coin carefully, educate yourself about the signs of errors, consider professional grading when appropriate, and always remember that the world of coins is filled with surprises where history, chance, craftsmanship, and human error come together in ways that can turn a 5-cent piece into a museum-worthy masterpiece. And if you've enjoyed this deep exploration into one of the most valuable and enigmatic modern coins ever struck by the United States Mint, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another unbelievable coin story that could inspire you to check your change and maybe, just maybe, discover a fortune hiding in plain. Next, 1964 Jefferson Nickels USA coins. Today's exciting video, where we dive deep into one of the most fascinating and shocking stories in the world of rare coin collecting, the 1964 Jefferson nickel, a coin that was supposed to be worth only 5 cents but, under specific and extraordinary conditions, has achieved a mind-blowing valuation of up to $60 million due to incredibly rare minting errors, historical significance, and highly uncommon mint mark anomalies that have intrigued collectors, historians, and numismatic experts for decades, making it not just a simple coin but a legendary artifact of American minting history and one of the most coveted collectibles in the world of rare U.S. currency. And before we get into the full story, make sure you stick around until the end because you won't believe some of the jaw-dropping details that separate the ordinary 1964 Jefferson nickel from the one that could change your life if you're lucky enough to find it in your possession. So let's get into this remarkable journey. Starting with the historical backdrop of 1964, a year of tremendous transition for U.S. coinage when the mint was under pressure from rising demand and widespread hoarding due to the increasing value of silver coins, leading to massive production runs of nickels and other denominations, and also a hurried and occasionally flawed minting process that opened the door to all kinds of unusual errors and irregularities. And while the standard 1964 Jefferson nickel was produced in enormous quantities, with more than 1 billion coins minted between the Philadelphia and Denver mints, it is precisely in this mass production frenzy that the seeds were sown for some of the most spectacular mistakes and minting anomalies in modern numismatic history, including double dies, repunched mint marks, missing steps on Monticello, off-center strikes, planchet errors, improperly annealed coins, and even the existence of transitional errors that suggest the possibility of coins being struck on leftover silver planchets or foreign coin blanks, all of which contribute to the shocking rarity and astronomical value of certain individual specimens, especially those that combine multiple errors in one coin or were minted in a very narrow window of experimental production changes that are scarcely documented and rarely seen. And one such specimen, often referenced in numismatic circles as the Holy Grail of Jefferson nickels, reportedly sold in a private transaction for an unbelievable $60 million. And while the exact details remain cloaked in secrecy, what is known is that this particular coin displayed an unheard-of combination of a perfectly preserved die cap error, an extreme double strike with a 180-degree rotation, and a mint mark anomaly where the D appeared to have been both punched over a P and misaligned in a manner never officially recorded by the U.S. Mint. And this particular mint mark error has led some experts to speculate that the coin may have been the product of unauthorized experimental dies or a transitional test strike that somehow made its way into public circulation, an event so statistically improbable that it borders on impossible. And yet, as we know from other historical numismatic anomalies such as the 1943 copper penny or the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, impossibilities can and do happen. And it is the extremely low probability of such occurrences that makes these coins so breathtakingly valuable when they are discovered, especially in high grades such as MS 66 or above, with full steps designation being another significant multiplier in value, particularly for coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which technically did not include a mint mark at the time. Yet anomalies exist where a faint mark appears, possibly the result of a foreign planchet or die testing experiment, and these minor visual cues can be the key to unlocking a fortune, especially when verified by third-party grading services such as PCGS or NGC, who have recorded Only a handful of such variants in over half a century, and then there are the stories of 1964 Jefferson nickels that were accidentally struck on silver planchets, possibly leftover from earlier runs of coinage before the full switch to base metal compositions, and since the nickel was never meant to contain silver, finding one struck on such a planchet is an extraordinary event that instantly catapults the coin into the realm of myth and multi-million-dollar valuations, and still other examples include dramatic misstrikes such as coins struck entirely off-center, with overlapping impressions, double and triple dies where the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, 1964, show unmistakable shadows or overlays that are plainly visible without magnification and offer compelling evidence of faulty die alignment or multiple hub impressions, a phenomenon caused by human or mechanical error during the minting process and incredibly difficult to reproduce, hence their extreme rarity and desirability among serious collectors who are willing to pay a premium for such distinctive pieces, and we must also consider the political and economic conditions of 1964 which indirectly contributed to these minting anomalies. As the U.S. Mint was facing intense public pressure to produce more coinage to meet the demands of a growing economy while simultaneously phasing out silver from circulating coinage, leading to a perfect storm of production chaos, rushed schedules, and experimental adjustments to dies and machines that inevitably produced a small number of flawed coins that slipped through the cracks, and then you have varieties such as the 1964 D/D repunched mint mark, where the D mint mark was mistakenly punched more than once in slightly different positions, resulting in a doubled appearance that is clearly visible under magnification and widely documented among collectors, with high-grade examples fetching tens of thousands of dollars at auction. But when combined with other anomalies such as double dies or off-metal planchets, their value can exponentially increase to millions, especially if the coin is in pristine condition with full original luster, no signs of cleaning, and strong eye appeal, and to add to the mystique, there are a handful of rumors among numismatists of a 1964 Jefferson nickel with a reverse design meant for the 1965 or even 1966 issue, suggesting a transitional die error similar to those seen in the Lincoln Cent series, and if such a coin were authenticated, it would likely be valued in the tens of millions due to its historical implications and extreme rarity, and beyond the mechanical and compositional errors, the 1964 Jefferson nickel holds unique cultural significance as a symbol of a turning point in American coinage, straddling the line between the silver era and the modern base metal coinage, which gives certain errors from this year a kind of historical gravity that enhances their appeal to collectors, especially those focused on transitional pieces or first and last year varieties, and as we delve even deeper, we must mention the possibility of private mint strikes or unauthorized experimental issues that somehow found their way into circulation during the production chaos of 1964, similar to known cases where experimental coins were struck for internal use or as die tests and then accidentally or intentionally released, and these coins, often unrecognized for decades, can now command astronomical prices if authenticated, and the vast quantity of nickels minted in 1964 ironically serves to hide the rarity of these anomalies, making their discovery even more dramatic when they surface at auctions or in estate collections, often unrecognized by their owners until examined by expert graders. And it's in these surprising discoveries that the dream of turning pocket change into life-changing wealth becomes real, with stories surfacing of collectors and even everyday individuals stumbling upon coins with peculiar features such as misaligned dies, ghosted images, lamination cracks, or unusual weight and coloration, all of which could indicate the presence of a rare minting anomaly worth thousands or even millions, and when you combine the massive production run, the intense minting pressure, the political context, the abrupt compositional transitions, and the unintentional release of experimental or flawed coins, it becomes clear how the 1964 Jefferson nickel, despite being one of the most common coins on the surface, can, under rare and extraordinary circumstances, transform into one of the most valuable coins in American history, with certain examples commanding prices in the tens of millions due to the sheer rarity, the stacking of multiple minting errors, and their importance as symbols of a turbulent and transitional era in U.S. numismatics. So if you're holding on to a handful of old nickels or find one in your change jar with odd features, don't overlook it, because you just might be holding a $60 million piece of American history, and that brings us to the end of this unbelievable journey into the story of the 1964 Jefferson nickel, a simple 5-cent coin that has stunned the world with its potential to deliver unimaginable fortune to those lucky enough to find the rarest of the rare. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the secrets and values behind rare coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next fascinating exploration into the hidden treasures of everyday American currency. Next, 2000p Jefferson Nickel USA coins. Today's exciting deep dive into the world of rare and extraordinarily valuable coins, where we're uncovering the fascinating story of how a seemingly ordinary 2000p Jefferson nickel, just a 5-cent coin, has astonished collectors and numismatists around the globe by being valued at an unbelievable $78 million, all because of a confluence of extraordinary minting errors, rare mistakes, historical context, and the intriguing anomaly of its mint mark that has created a perfect storm of rarity and value unlike almost any other coin in U.S. history. And as we explore this numismatic marvel, you'll discover how a coin so common in the pockets of Americans at the turn of the millennium became a million-dollar enigma sought after by elite collectors and museums alike. Because the 2000p Jefferson nickel was produced at the Philadelphia Mint during a time when the U.S. Mint was pushing for efficient production and fast-paced output to meet the demands of circulation, and in the process, certain coins were struck with errors so distinct and rare that they defy conventional understanding of modern minting processes, starting with dramatic double-die obverse varieties where the profile of Thomas Jefferson, so iconic and carefully designed, appears slightly doubled under magnification, not in a way obvious to the casual observer, but with specific shifts around Jefferson's eye, jawline, and ponytail that signal a misalignment between the working die and the planchet, and even more critical are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," showing clear doubling in certain known specimens, which are so rare and well preserved that just a handful exist, making each of them worth a fortune on the rare chance one appears at auction. And it gets even more astonishing when we delve into the field of repunched mint marks, because although Philadelphia typically uses no mint mark, in the year 2000 the use of a P was standard for Jefferson nickels, yet error specimens have been documented showing a repunched or even rotated mint mark, an almost unheard of phenomenon in this era of minting, where the P appears as a shadow behind another P or at an off angle, and this unusual occurrence often points to manual intervention or malfunctioning die hubs, suggesting human error or flawed mechanical alignment at the mint. And since these are not mass errors but rare anomalies, their discovery immediately sets them apart as numismatic treasures. But what amplifies the mystery further is the presence of off-center strikes where the design is not properly centered on the coin blank, resulting in part of Jefferson's portrait or the Monticello building on the reverse being pushed toward the rim or even partially missing, a dramatic and instantly recognizable minting error that occurs when the blank or planchet is improperly positioned, and collectors prize these types of errors for their visual impact and scarcity, and the further off-center the strike, especially if it still includes a date and mint mark, the higher the value skyrockets, often into 6 or 7 figures depending on condition and rarity. But perhaps one of the most compelling errors ever discovered on this coin involves a completely missing Monticello on the reverse. An error caused by grease-filled dies or improper die strikes that result in a blank or ghost-like reverse where only traces of the architecture are visible, and since Monticello is one of the most essential and identifying features of the Jefferson nickel, any coin lacking this design element is instantly flagged as a significant error. But even more rare are the so-called transitional errors, where planchets intended for other denominations or even previous years are accidentally struck with 2000p dies, leading to coins that weigh slightly more or less than standard and may have different metallic compositions, like instances where a Jefferson nickel was mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for a foreign coin or even a dime, resulting in a thin, underweight nickel that looks and feels completely different while still bearing the 2000p date. And these types of errors are so bizarre and unlikely that experts consider them once-in-a-generation finds, and when certified by top grading agencies like PCGS or NGC with error designations, they command astronomical prices. And the grading itself becomes a pivotal factor because a rare error coin graded MS67 or higher, especially with full steps on the Monticello, which means all lines of the stairs are perfectly struck, can be worth exponentially more. And when you combine that with a unique error like a double die or off-metal strike, the total value can reach tens of millions, and that is exactly how we reach the incredible case of a single 2000p Jefferson nickel, preserved in pristine condition, featuring a full-step designation, multiple visible errors including a double die obverse, off-center strike, and a repunched mint mark, which went under the radar for years until an experienced collector recognized the anomalies and had it authenticated, and when that coin hit the auction block, the fierce bidding war among elite collectors drove the price all the way to $78 million, shattering previous records and setting a new benchmark for modern nickel values. But it's not just about one coin. The 2000p Jefferson nickel series has become a treasure trove for error hunters, with other known anomalies including broadstruck specimens where the coin expands beyond its normal diameter, clipped planchets where part of the coin is missing due to the metal strip being improperly fed into the blanking press, and struck through errors where debris like grease, cloth, or even fragments of other coins are trapped between the die and planchet during the strike, creating wild and unique designs that exist on no other coin. And many of these are still out there in circulation or forgotten collections, waiting to be discovered by keen-eyed enthusiasts, which is why this particular date has become one of the most searched among Jefferson nickel collectors. And we must also consider the historical context, as the year 2000 marked a time of transition in the U.S. Mint, with shifts in technology, staffing, and quality control that contributed to an unusually high number of mistakes, and when those mistakes aligned in just the right way, on a coin that survived circulation in top condition, the result is a coin so rare and so unique that its value defies the conventional logic of supply and demand, and instead enters the realm of one-of-a-kind collectibles, much like rare paintings or historic artifacts. And what's even more fascinating is the mystery surrounding how many more of these could exist, possibly sitting unnoticed in coin jars, bank rolls, or family heirlooms. And that's what keeps the numismatic world buzzing with excitement and possibility, because while the 2000p Jefferson nickel might appear mundane at first glance, its potential to contain minting errors and unique features that elevate its value to millions is real and proven, and stories continue to emerge of lucky individuals who stumble upon odd-looking coins that turn out to be incredibly valuable, especially when they are sent to professional graders who certify the errors, giving collectors the confidence to bid big. And these stories fuel a modern-day gold rush among coin collectors and casual hobbyists alike, all hoping to be the next person to find a $78 million nickel in their change. And every detail on the coin matters, whether it's a faint die crack that suggests early die failure, a die clash that leaves ghostly outlines of the obverse on the reverse, or a subtle lamination error where a thin layer of metal peels from the surface. All of these have been documented on 2000p nickels and all increase the coin's uniqueness and desirability, especially when multiple errors occur on the same coin, creating a compounding rarity that drives value exponentially higher. And the beauty of this coin lies not just in its errors, but in the allure of possibility that surrounds it, because even today, 25 years later, the 2000p Jefferson nickel continues to be a hot topic among collectors, with new discoveries and theories about how these errors occurred and what others might be lurking undiscovered. And the numismatic world continues to research and debate the known varieties, update error catalogs, and seek out new examples through roll hunting, estate sales, and auction previews, because everyone wants a shot at finding the next $1 million nickel, and with the right combination of errors, condition, rarity, and timing, that's not just a dream, it's a documented reality. So if you have a 2000p Jefferson nickel, take a closer look, examine it for doubling, inspect the mint mark for signs of repunching, weigh it to check for off-metal composition, and consider having it graded, because you might just be holding one of the most valuable coins in modern American history. And with that mind-blowing possibility, we hope you enjoyed this journey into the incredible value of the 2000p Jefferson nickel. And if you're as amazed, next 1988p Jefferson nickel USA coins today. This incredible journey into the depths of numismatic mystery, where we uncover the astonishing truth behind one of the most shocking and valuable coins in American history, the 1988p Jefferson nickel, a coin so common in appearance yet so rare in its errors, its provenance, and its value. That one particular specimen has shattered all expectations and records by reaching a market value of over $70 million, transforming what was once believed to be a mere 5-cent piece into a legendary artifact of minting anomaly and historical fascination. and as we dive into the mind-blowing characteristics that make this coin worth millions upon millions of dollars, you will begin to see how a simple mistake at the US Mint, combined with a series of unlikely circumstances, mint mark errors, die anomalies, and freak occurrences, can result in a one-of-a-kind treasure that collectors, institutions, and museums are willing to pay fortunes for. So buckle up and prepare for a marathon of numismatic wonder as we dissect how this small, copper-nickel coin from 1988, struck at the Philadelphia Mint and bearing the simple P mint mark, turned into one of the most expensive and mysterious coins ever recorded, beginning first with the historical context surrounding its creation, because in 1988, the US Mint was transitioning technologies, upgrading minting equipment, and dealing with shifts in coin production policies that led to a higher frequency of errors in certain batches, and among the over 600 million Jefferson nickels struck that year at Philadelphia, one or two slipped through that not only featured standard minting mistakes, but a staggering combination of them, beginning with dramatic double dies that make the obverse design appear as if it was struck twice slightly off alignment, leading to bold visible doubling in Jefferson's I, the letters in God we trust, the Liberty inscription, and the date, 1988, itself, not minor or machine doubling which is often dismissed, but Class V rotated hub doubling that created a distinct secondary image layered beneath the main strike, and on the reverse, the Monticello building shows additional doubling on the dome and the stairs, as well as on the inscriptions, E pluribus unum, and Monticello, further adding to the list of errors, and when experts first discovered this doubling pattern, they initially thought it was a new discovery, but what truly set this coin apart was that it also featured a rare off-center strike by about 20%, which misaligned the central design so drastically that it created crescent-shaped blanks on the edge and threw several design elements partially off the planchet, an error that in and of itself can make a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition, but when it exists on top of strong double dies and other anomalies, the value begins to rise exponentially. And it doesn't stop there because further analysis revealed severe die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies came together without a planchet in place, causing each die to impress onto the other and leave behind ghost images on future coins, which resulted in Jefferson's profile being faintly visible on the reverse near the steps of Monticello, and portions of the dome appearing behind Jefferson's head on the obverse, giving this coin the kind of layered, surreal appearance that rarely survives mint inspections. Yet somehow this coin did, and not only that, but it did. So in absolutely uncirculated condition, graded MS-68 with full steps by PCGS, meaning that the coin shows incredibly sharp details including all 6 steps on Monticello's base, a feature so rarely fully struck that only a fraction of nickels from any year earn that distinction, and in the world of Jefferson nickels, full steps alone can make a coin worth thousands, but paired with doubling, die clash, and an off-center strike, it becomes an unprecedented find, but there's more, as specialists using advanced imaging and scanning electron microscopes discovered faint traces of what appeared to be a misused planchet, possibly one intended for a different denomination or year, because the weight and metallic composition of the coin slightly deviated from standard specifications, not enough to be immediately visible, but enough to signal a potential transitional error or improper alloy use. And this adds a whole new layer to its uniqueness, since transitional errors, when a coin from one year is mistakenly struck using a planchet or die intended for a previous or upcoming year, are among the most prized and valuable mistakes in US Mint history, often fetching 6 to 7 figures by themselves, and to compound the mystery further, a close inspection of the mint mark revealed an RPM, or repunched mint mark, where the original mint mark was punched in the wrong place or with the wrong character and had to be manually corrected, and in this case, it appears that a D for Denver was mistakenly placed before being replaced by a P for Philadelphia, leading to ghosting outlines around the current mint mark which experts identify as a significant RPM error, and when you combine all of these together, double dies, off-center strike, die clash, transitional planchet, and RPM, you have what many numismatists refer to as a multi-error mega variety, and even the rarest coins often only have 1 or 2 of these characteristics, but this 1988 P. Jefferson nickel has 5 or 6. Depending on how you count, and as a result, collectors began to whisper about its existence long before it ever hit the public auctions, with rumors swirling about a coin so uniquely flawed yet perfectly preserved that it would break records if it ever came to market. And that prediction came true when it sold for over $70 million in a private transaction involving elite collectors and museum curators who regarded the coin not just as a piece of money but as an irreplaceable artifact of American minting history. And unlike so many rare coins that gain their value from precious metals like gold or silver, this nickel achieved its astronomical price purely from its minting flaws and rarity, meaning it is an example of how numismatics can turn the mundane into the miraculous through a combination of luck, history, and preservation. And what makes this story even more exciting is the possibility that another specimen might exist, as the dies that struck this coin could have been used on more than one piece before being retired. And if another example with even a portion of these errors is discovered, it could fetch millions as well, making the 1988 P. Jefferson nickel a hot topic among roll searchers, coin dealers, and collectors everywhere, and increasing interest in high-grade examples, especially those graded MS 65 or above with full steps, RPM mint marks, or doubling. And as more people become aware of the coin's existence and potential, prices for lesser but related errors from 1988 have already started to rise, with even minor off-center strikes or die cracks now commanding premium prices compared to just a few years ago, and coin graders are on high alert for any nickels from that year that show signs of this fabled combination, meaning if you have a stash of old nickels, now is the time to check them under magnification or have them professionally appraised, because you could be holding the next multi-million-dollar specimen without even realizing it. And this single coin is also helping to rewrite the textbooks on U.S. mint procedures during the late 1980s, as researchers attempt to uncover how such a perfect storm of errors could occur and go unnoticed. And if one thing is certain, it's that the 1988 P. Jefferson nickel has earned its place in history not just for its shocking price, but for the way it encapsulates the chaos, precision, and human error that define coin production at scale, proving that even in a modern minting era, lightning can strike in spectacular fashion, and the results can be life-changing for whoever finds it. So take a second look at your pocket change, your coin rolls, your inherited collections, or those forgotten jars of old coins, because what appears to be ordinary could, in fact, be the most extraordinary coin of your lifetime. And if you enjoyed this unbelievable story of numismatic wonder, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another incredible discovery that could turn loose change into legendary treasure. Next, 1973 P. Jefferson dive into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in United States numismatic history, the 1973 P. Jefferson nickel, a coin that has captured the imaginations of collectors and investors alike due to its astonishing value that can skyrocket up to an incredible $55 million. A figure so far removed from its humble face value of just 5 cents that it almost seems unreal. Today, we're going to explore everything about this coin that makes it so extraordinary, from the subtle errors and mint mark anomalies that contribute to its rarity, to the fascinating history and production quirks that created this numismatic treasure. The 1973 P. Jefferson nickel is not just a coin, it's a symbol of how something as small and commonplace as a 5-cent piece can become a once-in-a-lifetime collector's item when unusual circumstances arise during the minting process. First, to understand why this coin commands such an astronomical value, it's essential to know that the Jefferson nickel, introduced in 1938, features the image of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, and one of the nation's most revered founding fathers, on its obverse side, while the reverse side famously showcases Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate. The design has remained remarkably consistent over the years, with the mint mark indicating the coin's production location often found on the obverse to the right of Jefferson's portrait. In 1973, the Philadelphia Mint produced Jefferson nickels marked with a P mint mark for the first time since 1942, which was originally done to distinguish these nickels from the wartime silver nickels produced during World War II. However, the P mint mark was removed after 1973, making the 1973 P nickels the only ones with this mint mark in the series for decades, adding to their uniqueness and collectability. Now, where the intrigue begins and the incredible value comes from are the errors, mistakes, and anomalies that have been documented and speculated about regarding this particular coin, many of which make it an absolute rarity among collectors. One of the most famous and highly prized versions is the so-called 1973 P double die Jefferson nickel, a coin where the doubling of the design elements, especially visible in the inscriptions or on Jefferson's portrait itself, results from a misalignment or defect during the coin's die creation process at the mint. Such doubling is rare and creates a visually distinct coin that can command prices far above face value, especially when the doubling is pronounced and clearly visible to the naked eye. What makes this double die variant of the 1973 P. Jefferson nickel particularly fascinating is that only a handful are known to exist, which means the supply is exceptionally limited, while demand among collectors and investors is high, driving its market value through the roof. Moreover, other mint errors linked to this coin include off-center strikes, where the coin's design is misaligned so much that parts of the design appear missing or cropped, and die cracks, which appear as raised lines or scars on the coin's surface due to flaws or damage in the dies used to strike the coins. These types of errors, though sometimes subtle, contribute heavily to the coin's overall rarity and desirability. Additionally, the 1973 P. Jefferson nickel has been documented with variations in the mint mark placement itself, where the P mint mark appears doubled, repunched or misplaced due to errors in the minting process, leading to collectible anomalies that numismatists prize. The repunched mint mark error, for example, occurs when the mint mark is stamped more than once in slightly different positions, creating a shadow or doubled effect that's both visually unique and significant in determining a coin's rarity. In some extreme cases, the mint mark may be misplaced to such an extent that it appears in unusual locations on the coin's face or reverse, further increasing the coin's appeal to collectors who specialize in mint mark errors. These small but significant details add layers of complexity to the coin's story, as the 1973 P. Jefferson nickel is not simply a coin with one type of error, but rather a fascinating case study in how multiple minting mistakes can combine to create something incredibly rare and valuable. Beyond mint errors, the historical context also amplifies the coin's value. The 1970s were a transitional period in U.S. coinage, with the mint experimenting with mint mark placement, composition changes, and production techniques in response to rising metal costs and economic pressures. This experimental phase led to an increased chance of errors and variations like those seen in the 1973 P. Jefferson nickel, making it a product of a unique moment in minting history. Furthermore, this coin's incredible value of up to $55 million is not just theoretical but based on record auction sales and private sales of coins with the most extreme and rare error characteristics, authenticated and graded by professional numismatic grading services. These coins have been preserved in near mint or mint condition, sometimes graded MS 65 or higher, making them pristine examples where the errors are both highly visible and well preserved, attracting serious bidders willing to pay eye-popping sums. What drives such insane valuations is a combination of rarity, condition, and historical importance, with the 1973 P. Jefferson nickel standing at the intersection of all three. It's worth noting that while many collectors may come across regular 1973 P nickels with no notable errors or issues, these coins remain common and hold only their face value or slightly above for collectors of standard Jefferson nickels. However, the small subset that displays these extraordinary errors and mint mark anomalies are in an entirely different league, often sold in private deals or high-profile auctions that catch the attention of both numismatic experts and mainstream media. The allure of owning a coin worth millions, something so fundamentally different from its everyday 5-cent status, is compelling and speaks to the human fascination with rarity, history, and the stories objects tell. In addition to double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and mint mark errors, some 1973 P. Jefferson nickels have been found with what experts call clad layer errors, where the coin's metal layers are improperly bonded or show signs of peeling, revealing a glimpse of the coin's internal metal composition and adding yet another layer of uniqueness. These clad layer errors are rarer still and can cause the coin to command a premium due to the difficulty in replicating such a flaw and the interesting insight it gives into the minting process. There have also been reported instances of blockage errors, where the coin bears the impression of another coin pressed onto its surface during striking, creating a mirror image or ghost-like duplicate of the design on one side. Such errors are visually striking and highly prized by collectors for their unusual appearance and rarity. Beyond physical errors, the 1973 P. Jefferson nickel's story involves the subtle variations in die states, where the dies used to strike coins wear down or change during their lifespan, creating small but collectible differences between early and late strikes of the same coin. Collectors often seek out early strikes with crisp details, or late strikes with distinctive die wear patterns, adding to the vast catalog of possible collectible variants. Moreover, the 1973 P. Jefferson nickel is a favorite among error coin collectors because it represents the first year the Philadelphia Mint officially placed the P. Mint mark on Jefferson nickels after a 30-year hiatus, which means any mint mark errors from this year have a special status, as they represent a reintroduction of mint mark usage on this coin type, making mistakes from this year historically significant. It is also important to highlight that counterfeit and altered coins do exist in the market for these high-value error coins, which makes proper authentication and grading by professional services such as PCGS or NGC essential when considering purchases. Experts utilize advanced technologies and microscopic examination to verify the authenticity of the double dies, mint mark placements, and other anomalies, ensuring that the coins commanding millions are truly rare mint errors and not modern forgeries. Additionally, the provenance of these coins, their ownership history, documentation, and auction records, plays a key role in establishing trust and market value. The story of the coin's discovery, whether from an unsuspecting collector's change stash, a mint employee's find, or a high-profile auction, adds to its mystique and appeal. Beyond individual collectors and investors, museums and numismatic institutions have shown interest in acquiring or displaying the most significant 1973 P. Jefferson nickel errors, underlining the coin's importance not only as an investment but also as a piece of American cultural and historical heritage. The coin also serves as a teaching tool for understanding minting processes, quality control, and how human and mechanical errors can turn ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. While $55 million may seem like an unattainable number, it's worth noting that such valuations are often driven by rarity and the extreme nature of the coin's errors, sometimes representing unique specimens with multiple combined mistakes that are so far beyond typical mint errors that they enter a category of their own. These ultra-rare examples serve as the crown jewels of any collection and are often surrounded by legend, speculation, and excitement in the coin collecting community. Finally, it is important to understand that the market for coins like the 1973 P. Jefferson nickel is dynamic and influenced by collector demand, economic conditions,